Yes, calling to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, May 15th. Is anyone recording the meeting other than LakeCAM? Nope, okay. So we're gonna take the first agenda item out of order only because one of our board members will not be here for the duration of our meeting, and that is to approve the meeting minutes for January 18th and March 20th, which Kathy included in our packet. Was everyone at both of those meetings, or we'll do them separately anyways? Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the January 28th meeting minutes, if anyone's so inclined.
I'll make a motion we approve it.
With a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Same for the March 20th, if anyone's inclined to make a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion we approve it.
With a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Okay, on to our first hearing. Lakeville Zoning Board of Appeals, acting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, as amended, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, May 15th, 7 p.m., Lakeville Public Library, 4 Precinct Street, upon the petition of Jeremy Burke. Special permit is requested under Section 270-6.3 and Section 270-7.4 to locate a 20 by 20 carport that would be within the setbacks. The property site is 45 Howland Road. Application and documents were on file at the planning board, at the planning department. So, is the petitioner here? Come on up, have a seat. Good, how are you?
Very good, sorry.
So, why don't you state your name for the record and then give us an overview of what you're looking to do, and we'll move forward.
My name is Jeremy Burke. I'm over at 45 Howland Road. If you look at the photos attached in the document, we have a very short driveway. We don't have a ton of place to park, and we have a ton of like pine trees above. And my fiance just got a new car, and the sap was kind of ruining her old car. So I spoke with my neighbor, and you can see in the attached photos, we already kind of have an existing, like kind of a carport tent looking thing. So looking to make it double wide, and the letter of the approval from the neighbor is also in there as well.
And your problem is you're a little too close to the property line.
Yeah, so the setback from his property line will be around 10 feet, and then it's about 20 feet off the street.
Okay. Doesn't look like anything complicated, just a matter of whether we're gonna let you go into the setback. First thing, let me read a few of the memos or correspondence between the other boards. We have an email dated March 28th from the Board of Health. Kathy, Lakeville Board of Health has no objections to the proposed carport at 45 Howland Road. From Ed Keller, Board of Health agent. We also have a email from Conservation. I reviewed the petition, 45 Howland Road, for any potential Concom concerns. There are none. While there is a small area of wetlands on the northwest corner of the property, the proposed carport in-house as well is well beyond the 100 buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone from Mark Minton, the conservation agent. And we also have a memo from the planning board dated March 13th at a regularly scheduled planning board meeting dated Thursday, March 13th, 2025. The board reviewed the above referenced application for Jeremy Burke regarding his proposal to replace an existing carport with a new 20 by 20 carport to a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling. After deliberation, the planning board had no further comments or concerns regarding the application. Those are the other boards that have weighed in. Any comments or questions from the board?
I have none.
No. Good.
I have one.
Go.
Yeah, have you had it surveyed yet?
Surveyed the land.
Yeah, the property line.
Yeah, so I got this from the, I think it was like the as-built plan here.
Okay.
I don't know if this has the land survey in it here, large one, but it has.
Bring it on up.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it should be in the PDF.
I got it.
Okay.
So there's really not too much detail there in terms of the.
Nope. Let's put it this way. before you go building, if we do approve it, you go building it, have that property line established.
Sure.
Because if you don't, and you come back in a year or two and it's too close to the line for other than what we have, I won't forgive you for it. And you don't hire me, you go hire somebody else.
Okay.
Okay?
Noted. Yes.
But yes, have it surveyed.
Okay.
Well, the neighbor doesn't seem to have a concern about it. Obviously, they wrote a letter in support, and he's the one that will be most affected by it.
Yep.
So, anyone would like to make a motion one way or the other, or
I make a motion we approve this petition.
the special permit as applied for?
Yep.
Any conditions? Nope.
For me.
With second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion? Any comments from the public? Probably should have done that first, but I didn't. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Good luck, Kathy.
All right.
What's next for him?
We have 2 weeks to do the paperwork, then it's submitted to the town clerk.
Okay.
And there's a 20-day appeal period, and then after that, contact you to pick it up, and then you go record it at the registry of deeds.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome, good
Appreciate
luck.
it. Have a good day.
Okay, next hearing. Lakeville Zoning Board of Appeals, acting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A as amended, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, May 15th, 7 p.m., Lakeville Public Library, 4 Precinct Street. Upon the petition of Cody Veloso, a special permit is requested under Section 270-6.1C and Section 270-7.4 to raise an existing dwelling, construct a new dwelling with an attached garage that would be within the setbacks on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. Properties at 301 Pond Lane. Application and sorting documents are on view at or available at the planning department. So, the 2 years up here, so who's speaking, and identify yourself for the record and we'll go.
So Nick Veloso on behalf of Cody Veloso, the applicant.
Okay, so what are we doing, guys?
So, Mr. Veloso lives at 301 Pond Lane, which is the last house on Pond Lane. It's actually blocked off by a tree line and then it goes into Hackett Ave. Mr. Veloso's owned the house for 13 years. Currently, the lot size is 15,500. However, he does own the property, which is across Pond Lane, which he has his garage on. That has been deeded, deed restriction that it cannot be a dwelling. So I just want to make that clear for the board. The existing lot coverage, as the current house is 27.6, which currently with the lot size, and that is a non-conforming lot. The proposed is right around 39.1%. That would be the the side setback right now with the current house is 11.5 feet. He is proposing to make it 11.6 with the new dwelling. And currently the front yard is 1.1 feet from the property line. He's proposing 24.8. Another note, I'd like to, since Mr. Veloso's moved into the house, he has maintained the private way for the neighbors down, wide enough for emergency vehicles. And again, this is already a non-conforming lot. I think that the dwelling fits in with the neighborhood. As we all are aware of Long Pond area, this is not uncommon for these lots, these smaller lots. And I think that's it. We also do have a letter from an abutter that was not able to get it in on time. Can I present that to the board?
I can read it into the record with the others that I have. Yeah, maybe we're missing the one. You can let me know. Thank you. Okay. Speaking of reading items into the record, we have a few memos here from some other departments, or other boards, I should say. May 9th from the planning board. At their Thursday, May 8th meeting, the planning board reviewed the above referenced petition for a hearing from the Board of Appeals. The board has no comments on this petition. We have a couple of memos here from the Board of Health. Just bear with me, they're similar, but looks like there was a change that was made to be in compliance. So the first memo was on May 5th. Board of Health received the petition for a hearing of 301 Pond Lane. and has reviewed the proposed site dated 4/16 and Veloso Residence architectural plans dated 2/20/2025. Current septic is sized for a 2-bedroom dwelling and has 2-bedroom deed restriction has been recorded at the Registry of Deeds 497, so the dwelling must remain a 2-bedroom dwelling. The architectural plan shows a 3-bedroom dwelling if you include the office, which would be defined as a bedroom under Title V definition for a bedroom. Property is located in Zone A, which does not allow for any increase of flow from an existing dwelling. The proposed dwelling is considered an increase in flow, and an increase of flow is not allowed in Zone A under Title V regulations. So that was an issue, but it looks like we made a change because we have a subsequent letter from the Board of Health on May 7th, which for the most part reads the same until we get to the revised architectural plans dated 5/7 show a 2-bedroom dwelling which complies with Title V. If the proposed dwelling remains a 2-bedroom dwelling with no increase in flow, then the Board of Health has no objections to the project. So I'm assuming you're going to keep it a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Currently, it's a deed restricted 2-bedroom. It's remaining a 2-bedroom.
Perfect. Well, perfect from the Board of Health standpoint. So. Okay, we also have a letter from the Conservation Commission dated May 9th. There are several concerns with this project on Long Pond. It would be premature to approve this petition prior to the Conservation Commission's review and permitting because most of the project is in our jurisdiction. The petition includes a variance on percentage coverage at an unacceptable 39.1%, which is 14.1% over the 25% maximum allowable. Town of Lakeville's municipal vulnerability is flooding. This has been well documented. A 2-year regional grant was awarded to Lakeville in 2022 for a study of ways to move forward and make informed decisions that decrease our potential for flooding. One area especially important is no net increase in stormwater entering the pond. This is directly related to a percentage coverage in the amount of stormwater being infiltrated into the ground versus overland flow directly into the pond. Any increase in stormwater runoff into the pond can be detrimental to the health of Long Pond. The extent of property damage to the 2010 flooding event was catastrophic. We need to do our best to avoid this from happening again. It is respectfully requested that this hearing be continued until the Conservation Commission has the opportunity to review and permit this project, as the plans could change from what they are currently submitting. So you definitely have a little work to do with Concom.
Where we do have to go to conservation
Okay.
for this project.
Good. So I will tell you at this point, you know, I'm sure the board's gonna have some questions, we're gonna have some public comment, but I would strongly suggest you don't look for an approval at this meeting tonight, or, because you're gonna need to be in compliance with Concom.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And then if we receive approval from this board but a denial from conservation, that would eliminate this approval anyway, right?
Yes.
It
So-
would, but normally if there's like a little bit of an issue or just some housekeeping stuff, but I'm sure Concom wrote that letter to that length and to the extent there because they need to make sure it gets signed off on. It's not that you're not gonna get approved, so I would suggest, you know, we'll go through, you wanna hear what questions and
Of course.
concerns we have first, and then get them all squared away, and then you can come back and I don't know what the board's gonna ask you for clarification anyways. I'm just saying that, you know, Concom is, you're gonna have to make sure you comply with them.
Well, we're happy to meet the Wetlands Protection Act and all the regulations.
Right.
So,
Okay. So, having said that, I'm going to open it up to my other board members. Before I do that, though, I just remembered that we do have some letters from residents of butters, so let's make sure I'm getting them all here. I'm going to read them, and if I miss one, Kathy, you can let me know. There's 3 of them, right? Okay, I thought there were 4, but in any event, we have a letter dated May 13th from Edward, I believe it's Stats. I have resided on Hackett Ave, Lakeville for 47 years. During those years, there have been many changes to the aesthetics of our waterfront neighborhood. I have reviewed the architectural plans dated 2/25/25 of Cody Veloso's residence at 301 Pond Lane, Lakeville. In my opinion, this residence will be a welcome improvement to the neighborhood. We also have an email from a Don Sauter. I'm writing this on behalf of Cody Veloso, who is appearing before the zoning board tomorrow evening regarding his building proposal at 301 Pond Lane. My family and I have been his neighbors for over 10 years and own the house next door at 303 Pond Lane. We know he is hoping to build a new house using much of the existing foundation of his present house. A few years ago, Cody had a garage built on the property behind the present house purchased from our family. garage project was completed in a thoughtful, thorough, and efficient manner. Since we see the garage and the rest of the property often, we appreciate the quality of the work that was done and the way Cody always maintains his property. He has also been a caring and considerate neighbor for the many years we've known him, believing that Cody can again complete this house project with the quality and care for the neighbors. We have seen the building surveying documents. We are in support of the building project and hope the board approves his proposal. And we also have one final letter from Kimberly Levitt. I'm ready to express my full support for Cody Velozzo's plan to build a home at 301 Pond Lane as a neighbor and fellow resident. I believe the project will bring meaningful benefits to our area. Cody's design reflects real thoughtfulness. While I'm not an expert in construction or zoning, it's clear to me that he has taken steps to address important concerns like improving drainage, protecting the health of the pond, and sitting the house farther back from the water. These are the kinds of decisions that show he cares not just about building a house, but about doing it responsibly. Replacing the current aging structure with a modern, energy efficient home will also help the neighborhood. It can boost nearby property values, bring in additional tax revenue, and improve the overall appearance of the area. All positives for the town. Cody's been part of Lakeville community for many years. He's involved in local conservation efforts and always been respectful of the environment and his neighbors. I have no doubt he'll continue to be thoughtful and a committed member of our community for years to come. For all these reasons, I fully support his plans and see no reason to object to this build. If you have any questions or would like to speak directly, please don't hesitate to contact me, Kimberly Levitt. So, all right, we have everything read into the record that I have received, or we have received. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to the board members. If anyone has questions or concerns.
I recuse myself.
You're going to recuse yourself. Okay. We have one recusal. So, open to the rest of us. Anyone have any questions or concerns?
Just a comment. So you're improving the setback, the front setback, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, substantially.
Substantially, yes.
Yeah. And looking for relief on the right side setback.
The side setback was currently 11.5 feet. He's proposing 11.6, which is a 0.1 foot betterment.
Yeah, okay.
What's the lot coverage existing right now?
27.6.
27.6.
So already non-conforming.
You're just gonna make it more non-conforming.
But we're not, in our opinion, we're not making it more substantially more non-conforming or detrimental to the neighborhood.
Did you consider not paving the driveway to help reduce that ratio?
We have considered, and after discussions with the applicant, he has discussed removing some of the impervious surface currently on site, such as a stone patio, some of the retaining wall items that may not be necessary anymore. But as in regards to the driveway, right now we're proposing it as being paved.
All right, so the trade-off on removing some of the,
It may not be an even removal for the paved driveway, if that's what you would be asking.
but was that factored into the 39.1?
No, that currently is what sits on the property right now as
All
well.
right, so removing that would reduce.
That would be the max, the 39.1.
If you didn't touch.
If we did not touch and left the stone patio and other
Gotcha.
items, that's correct.
Okay.
Right now, that paved driveway there is a proposed trench drain at the bottom of it, because it does slope down to the garage door, and then a swale on the side. I believe it's a riprap swale
Yeah.
that runoff would go into
Okay.
on the side of the property.
Have you done the math on removing the existing and a porous driveway? Does it get you like down close?
It would not be close to what's existing, or even the bylaw, which I believe is 25%. So no, it would not.
Yeah.
Due to the slope of the driveway, it's a slight concern for snow removal
Yeah.
when it's stone or pervious surface.
Sure.
And that's why we would like to propose it as being paved.
Is there any consideration for working on dropping that 39.1% down at all? That's a pretty significant number. I'm not so sure we've ever approved something that much of a difference, not even over the 25, but over what the existing was.
So, I can let Mr. Bozo speak to that, but I do believe that a lot of these smaller structures in Lakeville, it's fairly common for that percentage, especially on the pond.
Which ones?
To be 40%?
39,
39.1%?
I believe there are a few currently. Newer construction, probably Hackett Ave, I know a small, Clark Shores down by the water, there's a few construction. What's the one? I mean, Beach Bluff, I'm not sure. If you want examples, I mean, we could certainly.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you could. Again, my memory may be off. I've been on the board for a while. I just don't remember numbers to that extent, but in any event. Anyone else have any additional questions or any concerns other than, obviously, Concom needs to,
Well, he's got to work it out with the conservation.
Absolutely,
And it's,
absolutely.
we're basically, we're not going to, there's no point in approving something, and then you have to go to them and then start all over again.
Understood. I guess just our concern would be receiving approval from conservation, coming back and not receiving approval from.
no, that's my point. So
Yeah.
my concern is you're going to need to go to conservation.
Absolutely.
My suggestion is, my personal suggestion, you guys do what you want, is you're going to probably ask for a continuance because you want to go squared away with Concom. But to your point, I think it's a fair question. How do we feel about everything else? Is there concern, is the 39% that big of a concern? Because I think your point is, listen, if you're going to say no to 39, why am I going to waste my time going to
Exactly.
Concom?
Yes, thank
So,
you.
That's a little extreme, but if we can, I'm sure when you come back in front of us, that will be on 39%.
Yeah, that's my question too, is, yeah, if you were to meet with Concom, are you gonna somehow find a way to reduce that?
We don't know what they're gonna say, right?
Oh, like you must have created.
So their structure, I mean, they're not zoning, you guys would be zoning for the house. We have to meet what the stormwater and their other concerns. If that means reducing the size of the house, then we would potentially consider it, but if it doesn't mean reducing the size of the house, then we probably would not. His family's growing, he needs the space. Currently lives in 1 bedroom, and that's why it's a 2-bedroom house.
Just my own personal opinion, whatever you work out with Concom is fine with me.
Okay.
I tend to agree with that. I'm not in love with the 39%, I'll be honest with you, and I'm sure you're getting the feel that most of us aren't. But at the end of the day, the 25% there is there more so for the reasons that Concom has concerns.
Okay.
So if you can prove to them that the 39% is not going to negatively impact, and I know what you're saying, no more detrimental to the neighborhood, and I completely respect all the letters we've had and the support you have from your neighbors. But at the end of the day, it's in addition to having them be in favor and like in a nice new house, from an environment standpoint, that's, everybody may like that it's going there, but if it's gonna cause havoc with some other issues, that's probably gonna trump that everybody would like the house built there. So you need to, my opinion, work it out with Concom, come back with approval from them, and I think the project is a good project personally, and I think then you're probably in pretty good shape.
Okay, that's fine. Do you want? Okay. Then I don't know.
Before you ask for continuance,
Yeah, right.
does anyone in the audience want to speak, have any comments? Miss Yates, how did I know you were going to speak? So actually, you know what, Nancy, why don't you go up
Oh,
over
yeah.
there, that way
Okay, let's move
you don't have to.
Okay, we don't have any problem with improving the house and making it look better and
Nancy, you know the
everything?
deal, you got to say your name.
Oh,
Come
Nancy
on.
Yates, 19 Twin Oaks Road. You already identified me just
I
now.
said Miss Yates, I didn't say your address, let's go.
Yeah, we've been working for the last 4 years, where the town got a grant, and I think Concom's idea going forward from all this stuff, even from Serped, which I included in your package, is that when we have the opportunity to make it better, we need to do that. The health along pond is not good, and the two big issues would be stormwater and water quality. And when you do that percent coverage like that, that's an issue in both of those things. And we're working so hard. You know, the Long Pond Association's been working, the town's been working, and we're working in that direction to try to make it better, improve the water quality. We're gonna have flooding again. If we don't improve the water quality, we won't get that culvert under Tamarack Park enlarged. So to get the water out of Long Pond, we have another catastrophic event, and it's gonna happen again. So, like I say, percent coverage is the only thing we have a problem with, and all I'm asking is to come to Concom first, and we'll go from there.
They're coming back to you, or
Okay.
they're coming to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, unless anyone has any other comments or questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
No, I said, unless anyone has any other comments or questions, I was gonna say, I'm assuming you're gonna ask.
Yeah, we would like to ask for continuance to, I'd like to just schedule it for the next meeting, or request it, just so we can keep
Yep, schedule for the
notifying.
next meeting. If you haven't worked it out with Concom, you can, you don't necessarily even need to come to the meeting. You can send an email or a note to Kathy to let her know you want to continue to the
If that's okay with the board.
Yep,
We potentially
that's fine.
will not be at the next meeting.
So,
You won't be at the next meeting?
We potentially will not be because of conservation, but I just wanted to schedule and we can let you know.
Because the next CBA meeting is June 12th, which is the second, and I believe that you're gonna be at the
Oh, we have a
planning
planning
board.
board meeting. Okay, the meeting after that would be,
July.
July something.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for being specific.
July 17th.
okay, I think what, if we could, in your next meeting is the 12th, is that what you said?
Yes.
So then I think we'd, unless you want to come in the 12th. I'd like to request the 12th then.
12th?
For your next meeting, yes, please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for continuance to June 12th meeting.
Make the motion.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you on the 12th. Good luck.
Well, I can see.
No, they come opening.
Get out of here. I'll coordinate with you. If I don't get you up there tomorrow, I'll definitely get you next week.
You can never tell. But you were gonna be there anyway, so it can all work out. Yeah, so- Yeah. Bedford Street.
Okay, we are up to agenda item number 3, which is a continuance of the residences at LeBaron Hills LLC. And I know we have all sorts of engineering stuff to go over, but before we do that, I'm guessing a few folks at least are in the audience because rumor tells me that there's some water questions. I'll leave it at that, and I will let council fill in the zoning board as to what's going on and update us, since this is the first time we've seen you since everything's been happening.
Since Monday.
Since Monday. Well, in regards to LeBaron Hills, the
regards to
first time
LeBaron
we've seen you,
Hills,
so. But go ahead, Bob.
Again, Mr. Chairman, for your record, my name is Robert Mather. I do represent the applicant, residences at LeBaron Hills LLC. With me tonight, Mohammed, why don't you come on up? Mohammed Aitani, I'm also from the applicant, Rami Aitani and Salem Fedora. Jason Youngquist is our project engineer from Outback. We also have a new face tonight because we've hired a special counsel to handle our issues with DEP, Matt Watsky. And so we're here tonight, we're scheduled tonight to address our engineering review issues. But before we get into that, we are well aware that we have some issues regarding the municipal water supply and with DEP. And that's why we brought Matt. And before I ask Matt to explain where we are, because Matt is dealing with DEP, I do want to make sure that the board understands and make sure that the board knows that we are well aware that we cannot and will not proceed with any construction of Phase 6. We're looking for approval of Phase 6. And in addition to that, even completion of Phase 5, because we have some, actually 5B for that matter, until we resolve the issues with DEP regarding the municipal water supply. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. He can tell you first who he is and why we hired him. And Matt is dealing specifically with the DEP, and he can tell you where we are with that.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Matthew Watsky. Bob said I'd tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a former Deputy General Counsel for DEP. I was there through 85 to 90, and then went into private practice, and I've just specialized in environmental regulatory law and land use law since I've been in private practice at that time. I've dealt with most of the DEP regulatory programs, including the drinking water program over those years. And I've been brought in as a specialty counsel on projects like this all over the state. I was only just brought in last week, so a little bit of a deep dive to go through the correspondence and see what the issues were that DEP had raised in response to the city of Taunton, let's say, resisting having water supply provided to this project without it being designated as a public water supply and going through the permitting process to become registered or certified as a public water supplier. So what I think that both the city of Taunton and the DEP missed in the positions that they've taken up to now is the interplay, let's say, between the intermunicipal agreement between the city of Taunton and the town of Lakeville. There's an intermunicipal agreement that's been in existence. I think the first one was in 1987, then it was amended in 2003, specifically to provide water supply or to contemplate providing water supply for the LeBaron Hills project. It was amended then again in 2009, again incorporating all of those provisions about how water supply would be provided by the city of Taunton to the town of Lakeville, including the LeBaron Hills project. I won't go into all the details of that intermunicipal agreement, but the gist of it is that the town of Lakeville can grant permits to allow construction of buildings, of projects, and authorize the connection to the water. And where the town of Lakeville has given that approval, the city of Taunton is agreeing in that intermunicipal agreement that it'll provide the water up to a set total volume of water, which I understand has already been contemplated to have the LeBaron Hills project included in that, and with the city of Taunton taking full responsibility for all of the operation of the public water suppliers. So the generation of the water, the treatment and processing of the water, the distribution of the water with the pump stations and all of that. So that's all built into the intermunicipal agreement. Reading that is key to understanding how the DEP drinking water regulations would or would not apply to this project. So the DEP water supply regulations, drinking water regulations, are 310 CMR 22. And that sets out a whole series of both procedural requirements and substantive requirements for public water suppliers, but it also provides definitions. What is a public water supplier and what's exempt? So the key provision for this particular project is 310 CMR 22.03 and then subparagraphs 3 and 4. So 310 CMR 22 paragraph 3 says that set of regulations applies to every public water supply system in the Commonwealth except a consecutive public water supply which demonstrates to the department's satisfaction that it meets the following criteria. And the key criteria, the first one is that the consecutive system consists only of distribution and storage facilities, and it doesn't have any collection or treatment facilities. Well, that's the town of Lakeville and LeBaron Hills, right? Well, you're receiving your water from the city of Taunton. You're not treating it, you're not processing it, you're getting it from the city of Taunton. Second key criteria is that the consecutive system obtains all of its water from, but is not owned by or operated by a public water supply system, which is subject to 310 CMR 22. Again, that's LeBaron Hills in the town of Lakeville. You're not owned by the city of Taunton Water District, and you get all of your water from there. At least LeBaron Hills does. And then the other key provision is that the consecutive system and the supplying system have to have entered into a written agreement that addresses the status and the responsibilities of the parties for the ownership, the operation, the maintenance of the combined system, including, but not limited to, managing the drinking water sources. So that'd be whether it's a reservoir or a well system, the supplier is responsible for that. The treatment facilities, the distribution system, and the storage and water quality sampling. The intermunicipal agreement does all of that. It's all in writing. So that's the key provision, is that you have those three criteria and it's in writing about who controls it. So I've reached out to and have had initial communications with Jim McLaughlin. That's the section chief for the division of drinking water supply at the region, and Jim has then forwarded my communication on to the senior regional counsel, who I then sent a more detailed email to just yesterday to lay out, here's the analysis, and welcoming the opportunity to talk with him and discuss it and get it figured out. So in my view, the right decision for the department is to evaluate all of these different criteria and conclude that LeBaron Hills is not a public water system that is subject to regulation under 310 CMR 22, because all it does is distribute the water in its pipes to the users and receives all of the water from the city of Taunton, and the city of Taunton has all the responsibility for the processing, treatment, water quality, etc. for that system, just exactly consistent with the way the regulations are set up. Exactly how long it'll take before we get DEP to, sort of process that, use that word, sort of, let's call it pun intended, and reach its conclusion, I can't tell you, but I don't think it ought to take that long. It seems really pretty black and white to me.
Okay. I appreciate the update. I'm gonna confirm with council that, and I wanted to, because I know it's been a conversation going on for at least the past month or two with some of the residences and other folks around town, so I wanted to get an update, because again, this is the first time LeBaron has been before this board since the water issue has come up. So I wanted us to be up to date on it, but I'm happy to hear that council has, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Bob, has confirmed that till the water issue is resolved, you have no intention on starting phase 6 or completing phase 5. Is that what you had stated for the record?
That is correct. That is correct. And again, since we're looking for approval engineering for...
Yeah, that has nothing to do with us talking about...
That is correct,
Right.
and we would accept that as a condition of approval.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we can still... Yeah,
no further construction, no building permits for phase 6 or any further construction on phase 5 until we receive a confirmation from Mass DEP that we're in compliance with or exempt from the DEP regulations.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now back to confirm with council, Amy, if you wouldn't mind. I guess maybe they want to keep us board happy, but I'm not so sure how much purview we have over the water issue. Could you clarify that, just so I know, how big our hammer is, if we even have one?
Sure. Essentially DEP is going to make the decision. So we need to hear back from DEP as to whether they're subject to 310 CMR 22. And even if they are, they're subject to that under the purview of DEP, not us.
So that's realistically not supposed to be incorporated into the process we go through here, other than to say you need to make sure you're in compliance with DEP. They
Correct,
have oversight for that.
and I think that we could go as far as saying that they need to supply water to their residents.
Right.
So we can do that. I'm happy to hear that they are agreeing to a condition that no building permits will be issued until DEP confirms the water situation. I guess my question is, I'm not sure how we apply that to 5B when Phase 5B has already been approved. Have building permits been pulled for 5B yet?
I believe foundation permits have been,
Okay.
but we haven't started construction.
So we'd have to have a conversation with Nate
Right.
about that.
But do we have the leverage even to say no at this point? Having said that, again, I appreciate the fact they've already offered to say, listen, we won't.
Our leverage is within the conditions.
Right.
So our leverage is that you cannot pull a building permit until your water issues are resolved. Saying no because of this is not under the purview of the zoning board, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, the good news is, you're on the record, you said you're not doing anything to get this resolved anyway, so.
That is correct.
So we can put that on the side at this point, and let's hope for everyone's sake we get it resolved sooner rather than later. So I appreciate the update. Does anyone on the board have any questions in regards to this clarification?
What is the opposing argument to this, and is it primarily from the city of Taunton?
Well, the city of Taunton didn't, in its communications with DEP, focus at all on the fact that they have a written intermunicipal agreement that already provides that all of the terms for its provision of water are in writing and have this covered. They just took the position that in their view, this should be a public water supply system that has to be regulated, put the issue in DEP's lap, and DEP hasn't resolved the question yet. So it is very clear under both the statute and the DEP regulations, the 310-CMR-22, that the decision of whether an entity is subject to regulation is entirely the DEP's ruling. So the city of Taunton's water district can't insist that LeBaron Hills become registered and certified as a public water supply because they want it. It's entirely the DEP decision. So we've presented the issues to the department to have it resolved.
Thank you.
Chris, if you look on page 2 of the DEP, the 2023 DEP letter, they list all of the reasons why the city went to DEP. And it has to do with the operation of the water system, or lack thereof as what they're saying. So I think that was probably why they went to DEP, because it's their public water supply, but they're not able to operate it. LeBaron is actually operating it. I think that would help.
Thanks.
Your question.
Okay. So, at this point, what I'm going to do is let's go into engineering. And Matt, why don't you come up and with Beals and Thomas, if you could kind of review. Obviously, we've got the plans. Beals and Thomas, who was our peer review engineer, has reviewed them, made comments. So if you can bring us up to date and where we are with with phase 6.
Sure. So for the record, Matt Cody, Beals and Thomas. We had issued a letter to the board back in February, and most recently a supplemental review on May 7th. So the applicant is, so in our February letter, we noted several deficiencies. The applicant has come back now requesting waivers for most of those issues, including front yard setbacks, the number of stories, impervious coverage, front yard circle calculations, the widths of the road driveways, signage, just to mention a few. So I guess none of those are necessarily deal breakers in our eyes from an engineering standpoint. However, it's up to the board's obviously discretion if you're going to grant those waivers or not.
Okay. So they've complied. Well, obviously you had the letter in February. they've responded to that, and any of the major concerns, other than the waiver requests, have been clarified.
Correct. So I guess some of the other, so beyond the waivers, some of the other outstanding items are, we requested a photometric plan that has not yet been provided. They indicated it would be. We questioned, you know, minor things, you know, some of the, how trash is being handled, and some dumpster pads that were added, but no details for those pads, or, you know, the fence, the enclosure were provided, so we want to see that. Previously, we had questioned, there's an existing wastewater treatment plant that serves the whole property, and just how, like, the development or the addition of the new units would affect that. You know, what's their capacity, where they're running at now, how much more capacity do they have? They indicated they would provide an update on that. We have not seen that yet.
So Matt, on that, are you looking for an update from DEP on that or from them?
From them.
Okay.
Or we had just questioned, you know, you have this treatment plant, you're adding all these new units, how, you know, where do you stand in your current, you know, allocation, how much flow and things like that.
Do they operate the wastewater treatment plant themselves now?
That's correct, that I do not know.
You operate
The
the...
homeowners association does.
Okay.
What we're requesting from DEP, which we already started the process, the plant already reached design capacity.
Okay.
Because DEP used to require 110 gallons per day per bedroom. However, the actual use, the plant is designed to handle 66,000 gallons per day. On average, with full occupancy today, it's using around 18 to 20,000 gallons per day. So the plant is only using 1/3 of its capacity. Now DEP would like to get a history of 2 years to see what the use for the plant was. And in the past, they've approved additional units because the 110 gallons per day was done when things were not efficient, faucets and shower heads and toilet flushes and all those good things. Used to use a lot more water. Today, the acceptable engineering practices is around 60 gallons per day per bedroom. So even though the plant was designed for 110 gallons per day per bedroom, we really have capacity to add a few hundred units if we choose to, if DEP allows it.
Okay.
So, and in the past, DEP allowed similar situations. So this is a DEP thing, so we have to go in front of DEP, ask their permission, and if they say no, we have adequate land around the site to put leaching fields, regular septic
So
system.
we have to wait to see what DEP says, and if it works out that you can expand, you can. If not, you're gonna have to put another one in.
We have enough room to do septic systems,
Okay.
to do a shared septic system, yes.
Okay, and you'll have to get those plans back to you, so.
Yeah. But that is certainly consistent with, you know, the 110 gallons per day is conservative.
Right.
And it often ends up being much less, so.
Yeah, the new number is 60 gallons.
Yeah, I
per
would
day.
say it's.
Well, my guess is it would be outdated. That plan originally was put in place
That's
quite a
correct.
while ago, and I
Right,
think we've
with
become,
the new building codes and.
I think we've become a little more efficient in
Yes.
20 years, right?
Right.
So,
So, it wouldn't, I assume there's capacity in their existing system based on that, but yeah, we're looking for that to be confirmed.
you gotta get DEP to sign off on it.
That's correct.
And if you
That's
do,
correct.
we're good. If you don't, you gotta give them a plan for a shared septic, so you
That's
guys know
correct.
what you need to do.
So next, we requested a swept path analysis, you know, for a fire truck, kind of how we would navigate the parking areas. We did note that it seemed like some of the turning movements were clipping like parking spaces, meaning like if a car was there, it
Right.
wouldn't need, you know, was kind of intercepting some of the lines. So we wanted to see that cleaned up and or defer to the fire department if they're comfortable. Again,
I was just gonna say that's the simplest thing to do.
yeah, again, it's, those kind of turning movement analyses, again, are conservative. Typically, a seasoned driver is able to, you know, make those turns. But again, based on what was provided, it seems like they're cutting it close in a couple spots.
Okay.
We had noted some inconsistencies in the parking counts. I believe they had indicated they were providing 154. We were only coming up with like 150, 151. So again, not a huge issue, but something we're looking to get clarified, just to make sure we're all on the same page. And then we had noted several stormwater concerns. Many of those were addressed. I guess the one thing we would note is that they haven't provided their SWIP yet, which is common until it was but it would as a potential condition of approval.
Okay.
We'd want to get that SWIP submitted prior to them doing any construction. We had also, so dating back to February, we weren't aware of the water issue. In our May letter, we did bring that up as a concern, but it sounds like that is already well underway. So, other discussions about that are well underway. So.
Okay. Amy, do you have any comments additional, or most of the waivers seem to be standard?
Correct.
As to what we knew we
For
were
a
going to ask
40B.
for a 40B anyway. Okay.
Yep.
Before I open it again up to the board, any additional comments from Bob or Jason or Mohammed?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Mohammed Itani from the residences at Lebanon Hills LLC. Just to confirm what Matt is saying. What Matt is saying that we believe we are exempt from those regulations, and he's supporting that with documentation and agreements that were signed with the town of Lakeville, mentioning Lebanon as part of that. So subsequent to that letter of 2023, Taunton made a lot of claims that we actually met with DEP and proved them all wrong. So Taunton came up with things that are not true. We had witnesses, GCs, and that invited Taunton to come to the site to inspect things. Taunton did not. They said, no, this is private property, we do not want to be there. We hired an engineer on our, because we thought this might come up as an issue. We hired a third-party engineer to come in and witness the construction and certify that everything was done based on Taunton specifications to make sure that this issue is not going to come back and haunt us. But somehow it came back. So luckily we had that third-party engineer that did meet with DEP and the GC that installed the water lines, that everything was done based on the approved plans that the town of Lakeville approved, and Taunton should just accept responsibility and just don't push for making us a consecutive water system that Matt strongly believes that we're exempt anyways.
Okay. Board members, do we have any questions in regards to the engineering report analysis?
I just may add to what
Go for it.
Mr. Cody had mentioned. So the photometric plan is coming from the lighting providers to ensure that the light pollution doesn't go over the lot lines. Dumpster pad, it's a fenced enclosure, 6-foot high fence as noted on the plan. We didn't do an actual detail for it because it's just a concrete pad with fence around it, but if the board wants that, we can certainly provide that as a separate attachment.
If he wants it, we're going to want it.
Yep.
So.
And then the wastewater treatment plant, you talked about the swept path analysis for the fire trucks, we revised. I did notice the spots, you noticed where it was getting too close. So we've revised that, turning radii so it's not as close anymore. So we can provide that to the fire department.
Okay.
The parking count was a typo. We had it at 154, you had it at 151. You were correct. Thank you. But again, we're over the required parking, so it's just a typo on the plan. It's just in one table, but that's a typo on our part. The SWIP, that's something that we usually do after, prior to construction, once a contractor has been chosen, because we have to have all their contact information in there. So again, that would be a condition as well.
Okay. Sounds like you're working towards getting them what they need. Some of it you're maybe already on its way over, so. Board members, follow-up questions, clarifications? Anyone? Amy, anything we didn't ask that we should be asking?
Not right now.
Not right now.
So Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just the one thing that's still missing, other than the water and the sewer thing, is the photometric plan, which basically a lighting engineer is designing it to choose which lights to use, and he's gonna provide us with a plan that once we have this plan, we can just include it in our plans. And I believe we're done with anything that we have to do. You know, I believe we should move forward with approving the plans as submitted.
We need wastewater, right?
Yeah, we have that contingency that, of course, we have to get DEP's approval to tie into the wastewater treatment plant.
Mr. Chairman and Mohammed, that DEP approval will take quite a while, almost a year.
It's gonna take, that's correct. So we already have 2 years of data, where as we get the data month by month, so the treatment plant, there's a person from MSU, they goes there every day, they measure every day how much was pumped into the leaching field. They keep a record of the data. They take water samples, make sure that there is no contamination from the observation wells around the treatment plant. And they're the one that certify how much is being used into the system. Like I said, the system has so much, 60% more capacity than what it's using today. And DEP in the past have approved similar requests. So we don't see any reason for them to say no, but we have to go through the process that can take a year or so. So we're still a long way. So even if we have all the other issues resolved, the sewer is going to control the construction.
Right. You can't do anything till you get that taken care of.
That's correct.
Why don't I do this at this point, if no one else on the board has any additional questions. I am going to, you can grab a seat, Matt, thank you. I will open it up to the audience or those in attendance. If anyone has any comments or questions, please come up, state your name, direct them to the board, and
Hi.
you don't need, you just, it'll pick you up.
Okay.
It'll pick you up.
Noelle Rillo, Lakeville. I'm learning so much about water. This is the most complicated thing I've ever heard. But whatever the understanding is between Taunton and DEP and LeBaron, I really hope it's in writing, because it makes me very nervous to hear that this is all verbal. And I'm sure that council would agree with that. I missed your meeting 2 days ago because I attended the water committee meeting, which was held at the same time on the same night. And boy, did I learn a lot about water. I looked at the 80 pages of attachments to your agenda and read Thomas and Beal's, that went on and on and on, and I read all of that. What grabbed my attention, because I was married to a firefighter for many years, and one of his jobs was to go in and inspect fire systems. And they were complicated. Some of them were very simple, restaurants, developments like yours. And it came down to one thing: they either passed or they failed. And the letter that Fire Chief O'Brien wrote in May, it concerned me. And I understand that the water issue is huge, but these fire safety problems are very important. They're very important, not just the turning of the trucks. You know, I'm not going to go into detail about them, but I had a conversation with him, a very nice conversation, and his words of wisdom to me were this. He said, these developments, when they're in the planning phases, if you don't go through the things like what Thomas and Beals went through, and Fire Chief O'Brien's issues, if you don't address them in the planning phase, and you go ahead with building, and I understand it's going to be at least a year till it happens, but I just want to impress on you that it's during the planning phases that you've got to address what this fire chief is saying to address. So I know the water issues are big, but these are very important, and I just want you to bookmark that. So please do that.
Thank you.
Please do that.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? Looks like you want to say something? Come on up. Don't anyone be shy.
No, my name is Ann Ronski, and I'm actually representing a resident that lives at 8 Country Club Lane. Lot of issues. I went to the meeting Monday night. Noelle was there as well. And it was a little concerning that this meeting was actually going on at the same time, so we couldn't be in 2 places at once. However, the current situation that no one has talked about is the meter, the water meter. There's only one that contains the entire complex, And I know you inherited that when you took this on. There is only one master bill from Taunton, one. And what is happening is because I just paid the water bill for 8 Country Club Lane, but it has been empty for other than 3 weeks in that 3-month period, was $151. Now you say, oh, $151, not bad. No shower was taken, no dishwasher was run, no laundry was done. It was still up there. So what I'm assuming is happening is that the one bill is coming in, it is being charged at the rate of tier 3, not tier 1, if we had our own meters. It's charged at tier 3. And the difference is about $30,000 a year, approximately, that we are paying the city of Taunton additional in water. Because normally, the rate right now is $6.12. That's what the normal 2, 3 bedroom house, they would fall in that category. LeBaron is paying, or the residents of LeBaron is paying $10.83 because it's being charged at, I don't want to say a commercial rate, but it is at tier 3. So they're paying much more for the same water than everybody else. So my thought would be, why are we not having individual meters at this point? And being able to pay $6.12 instead of $10.83. That hasn't been brought up at all.
So I'm gonna, I'm right here, 'cause I'm looking
Yeah.
over at Amy, but my understanding, or I guess my assumption is that the homeowners association is dealing with Taunton at this point, correct? Is that what's going on? So I'm not sure if it's between the homeowners association and Taunton, if that even, A, does it fall into our purview to even get involved in? And secondly, is there anything we could do about it anyway?
It's not in your purview for us looking at 40B. It's not. They have to supply water. How they supply the water, is technically up to the developer and the water supplier. I don't know what these intermunicipal agreements, I don't know what they say.
Right.
We don't have those either.
So.
It would be at this point, I think, between the HOA and Taunton.
In Taunton. Is there anybody in Lakeville who can
I think
do
the
anything?
select board are the water commissioners.
Okay.
In Lakeville, the select board are the water
Yeah, I
commissioners.
just want to give her some guidance here, so. I know you'd like me to wave a magic wand and take care of it,
No, I
but
understand.
I don't think
No,
I can for you.
understand. I
Sorry.
want to bring it to the attention because what we're doing is we're now going to add more to this and more to this. And now, we need to solve it now before it becomes a huge issue. I mean, this should have been addressed way before the cottages were even built. Like, it should have been addressed. And there are multiple letters. I mean, I do have the letters. I have the one from the fire chief. I have Beals and Thomas. I also have the DEP. And on page 2, I mean, there's some heavy stuff on this that I think needs to be addressed before we even think about pouring a single foundation.
Well, the good news is they just told us to not do
Exactly.
anything
We
right
just
now.
need to make sure that that happens.
Jerry, you got a
Thank you.
comment?
Actually, I have a clarifying question. So you mentioned the rate that you pay
Yes.
for your water consumption rate. Who
Yes.
sets that rate? Who negotiates the rate on your behalf?
Taunton, because the bill,
So the majority one negotiating on your behalf is the part of the HOA?
So what happens is because we have only one meter, and it's a complete of what everybody's using for water, so it isn't the individual meters where normally, if you have a home in Lakeville, you would have a meter on the side of your house.
Yeah, I get it.
And it would be red and so forth, and you would probably fall somewhere between 1 and 30, which is $6.12. Here, we're looking at massive more, so more than 251, so that puts us at tier 3, which is $10 and change. What's that? Yeah, 61 cents, yeah.
The
So,
rate's based on your tier.
based on your tier of water consumption.
Right.
It's how many connections.
Yeah, it's the whole complex. And it's being divided by, I'm assuming, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
One at a time. Are you going to stay up and
No,
go
she,
sit down? or-
Hillary's got it.
Nope.
I want to just explain, first of all, thank you, Mohammed, we appreciate everything. With regard to being a PWS, cannot thank you enough. I'm Kelly Newman. I live at 101 LeBaron Boulevard in the Estates, and I'm now the chairman of our water committee. What is trying to be explained is, right now, the way it's been, this is not on Mohammed. When the original builder in 2002 was submitting paperwork, it was, if you go back and look at all the meeting minutes, right? There are meeting minutes that say, this master meter that's at the entrance of our neighborhood is to get us started. It's temporary. I have copies if you would like to see it. So it was a temporary measure. That was back in 2001, 2002. And it looks like Judith Nish Engineering Company drew up the plans for that master meter and submitted it to Taunton. If you look at all subsequent meeting minutes in Lakeville, whether it's planning board, zoning board, or whatever, it talks about water capacity. It doesn't talk about ever again this master meter. So the way Taunton bills us is it comes out of there from their plant, it goes up Route 79, right? We're across the street from LeBaron, everyone knows that, from the golf club. There's a master meter. We have volunteers in all 6 phases, well now what are we, 4 phases? That every quarter they get on the phone and say, hey Joe, hey Kevin, hey Mike, we're gonna read the meters. Let's make sure we coordinate it so we're accurate. They go and individually, and they volunteer to do this, and they read each and every meter to calculate the massive amounts of water that came up to that master meter. So not only are we getting charged, that puts us by Taunton at that 3rd tier. And that's why we're paying $10 and something per HCF, correct? Whereas a resident, a normal resident, they pay 6.82 per HCF. To me, at the end of the day, is that fair? How is it that Taunton has alleged that we have to be a PWS, and they sent false information? They sent false information to the Massachusetts DEP, as Mohammed has said. They said things like, we were kicked off the site when we came to inspect. They said things like, they said they were kicked off, but yet they said in that letter, suboptimal pipes. How can you be kicked off and then yet in the same breath say suboptimal pipes? I'm sorry, something's not right here. So at the end of the day, we as residents are simply asking for fairness and that our water is assuredly clean. We don't know that because of the way the configuration is. It's a closed loop. So the water circulates, but it doesn't go back anywhere. And that's when I said the other day, my father died from Camp Lejeune water contamination. I bought in this neighborhood a year and a half ago, assuming my water was safe, because I was told that it was public water. Come to find out, it's not completely true. So we're getting ripped off, and we as residents cannot say we know 100% that our water is safe. So does that clarify it? The only other thing I want to say is what's frustrating. When you look at a macro level, doing all this research, what I'm finding is that because Lakeville doesn't have a water department perhaps, And because this has taken 20 years to develop, the left hand does not talk to the right hand. And so when we go to get help, we're told, we can't help you. It's not our department. Just like we're sitting here, right? Zoning board, you guys can't do anything. I've called the Board of Health. I've called other departments. Hopefully this will get resolved. But we just want you to understand, it's not just about being a PWS. It's also to ensure that our water is safe. But also, let's be fair. Why are we being charged $10.80 something per HCF when other residents are paying 6.32? Yes, sir.
Before you go, is there another tier? Is tier 3 the highest tier? Like this phase 5B and, okay.
Is it the highest, Gary? It is the highest tier. It's based on volume, so they get to read it. Oh, it came in this meter. Bam!
I understand.
It's nice for them. 30,000, we predicted that with all build-outs, they would get an excess of 30,000 from us. And we're 5% of the tax base in Lakeville. We're just asking for fairness, that's all. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I'd like to answer your question. Usually when you have a central meter, if you have a full family, reaches that highest tier right away. So really, I agree that it's not fair for the residents that they get to pay the highest tier based on the use of that master meter. What we installed, you asked the question, is that how do you read and how do you charge people? The previous developer, as well as ourselves, we installed individual meters in every single house. And the community goes out and they read all those meters and they bill the residents for their use, for their water and their sewer. So basically, because we're a good chunk of our community is 55 and older. Some people go out in the winter, they go to Florida or whatever. So that's why the meters are there. So but at one time it was divided equally among everybody, and then they decided to start reading the meters and billing the people based on their use. And that's how it's been running. That's how we get to bill people. So we bill people for, not us, the homeowners association, by the way. It's totally outside the developer's control. So they read the meters and they bill the homeowners for their use for their water and so on. So that's how they get billed individually.
My only caveat with that is that clearly is not true if she's telling us she was billed $100 for her bill when no one was there.
Because the community has, like take the treatment plant. The treatment plant is going to take $10,000 a month to run. Whether there are residents or none, you'll still have a meter charge or a sewer charge. The same goes for water.
Minimum, basically.
Exactly. So there's a basic charge that has nothing to do with your actual use. It has something to do with keeping money in escrow, for future repairs, for running the treatment plant. Excuse me?
Call it a service charge, essentially.
So let me tell you this example. I have a house in Avon, public water. The house is empty. It's abandoned, actually waiting to be knocked down. So I asked the water department to remove the water meter because they were billing us $100 every quarter. And we asked them to remove that meter because the house is abandoned and it's all boarded up. They were still billing us $100 every quarter. They removed the meter, they still billed us the $100 every quarter. So why did you remove, why am I still paying the same? They said because of the water line in the street, somebody has to maintain it, and the fire hydrant and so on and so forth. So there is always this minimal charge, no matter what. And then on top of that, you start getting your use.
Gotcha.
Noel Rillo again. I just want to say that this development, this project of yours, and it is your project, you have to take responsibility for what you took on. And I'm sorry that Tom is not being accommodating, but you're certainly not a victim of all of this. And so some of these people are, you know.
Noel, do you have a question or a point?
They're on fixed incomes, so please don't pretend that you're a victim of this. I'm sorry, but it's your project. And this argument, this really builds a very strong argument to not allow you to do the same thing over on the other end of town in Rocky Woods. That's my feeling.
So I would like to add, actually, I forgot to mention something. As we heard from the neighbors early on in the process when we started building in the community, and how come the community is paying the higher rate? We actually started including in every purchase and sales agreement a disclosure that details how much people are getting charged for water and how much they're being charged for sewer, including 8th Country Club Lane. If they look at their purchase and sales agreement, there's a disclosure there that specifically says what is the water rate that the community is paying.
So I do, again, this is outside of our purview, so I want to wrap this up. But my only question is, and I'm not sure if this is for the DEP expert or for council. I know as far as the DEP, the water quality, that issue, you have to handle that. But as far as the concern about what the residents are having to pay, is that a resolvable problem? Again, I know it's not our purview, I'm just asking so they may know, or we could give them some direction. Is that a resolvable issue? And if so, who is it with? Is it something unfortunately, someone's going to have to deal with Taunton on, or has that ship sailed and it's tier 3 and that's it and there's nothing that can be done? I don't know if you don't have the answer, you don't, but if you do, I'm just curious.
I can address it very briefly. Right. So I don't have the answer of how it ought to work out, but it's something I can certainly investigate further. The intermunicipal agreement has very specific criteria in it for how the water rates are to be billed to the Lakeville residents.
So it's in our MIA with Taunton?
It's in the IMA, yes. And so the question really would be, how are similarly situated homes and developments in Taunton billed, and are they billed the same way as these projects, these homes in Lakeville? So under the IMA, they're supposed to be billed the same way.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is David Martin. Live at 4 Putter Way in the Bear Hills. Been there 5 years, and I've been working on this water issue pretty much since we've been there. So Monday, I think you're getting the sense that as a committee, we kind of informed the whole subdivision of what we've been working on, and I think some of the comments may come from that, and maybe not a complete understanding of some of the issues that we've been dealing with. Been working very closely with Mohammed and Rami Atani through this whole process, so they've been very helpful. When we get to this billing question, obviously we're very excited to hear about hopefully DEP saying, Taunton, you're responsible for the infrastructure, for everything. Then we address the billing. What we would ask as the committee for phase 6, we are right across from the source of the water there at Elders Pond. So we would like to have the waters being supplied into phase 6 connecting into our system so we have the flow through of water. The fire chief has asked for that as well. So being able to have that flow of water from both things means you would have to have individual meters by Taunton to bill, so they could no longer rely on a master meter. So that's the solution to the problem. We get connection through Fern Avenue from Elders Pond. We have water from both sides, be able to have improved water, improved capacity if there's a fire issue. As a committee, basically, we knew we needed to adjust our readers to be compliant with Taunton. Stonebridge through Mohammed was very helpful for helping us financially to do that, what we'd have to do, so we would get out of the billing business and reading the meter business. Because we have the individual pads, they just have to be changed to be able to be read by the truck as it passes by. So if the ZBA has any capability to say where is that source of water coming for phase 6, that would be fantastic to say, okay, it needs to come in through Fern Avenue and have an open loop system. So that way we have water, and then they'd have to bill individually. So
thank you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Hey, 1 second. Amy, can I ask that question? I mean, I can ask the question, can we have any ability to condition it? Or as long as they have water, that's all we need to be worried about?
It's really as long as they have water. We could, but I think you can ask that question.
I'm gonna ask the question.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much teeth I have.
I'm curious for the answer.
I'm gonna ask the question, and Mohammed may have been ready to tell me the answer anyway, so go for it.
So when this thing with the water started up, and we actually informed Taunton Water that we're planning on phase 6. Taunton Water requested that we tie the water supply from Precinct Street and tie Precinct Street to LeBaron. However, they wanted us to put a gate where they control it and they keep it shut off, and they will only turn it on in case of an emergency. So the water connection will be there. Precinct and LeBaron will be connected. But there's a gate or a valve in the street. Taunton Water will control, and they will turn on and off. Usually it will stay off unless Taunton accepts to start reading the meters within the community. So at least the infrastructure will be in place, and that's in our engineered plans. So that's how we're proposing the water line. So in case Taunton decided to read the meters, all they have to do is open the gate, and then that's it.
But right now, Taunton says they wanna.
They're saying, but at least the infrastructure will be in place. So later on, nobody has to dig up the roadways and
Do you
install
want, do you
water
care
lines.
if it's open or not? Is it Taunton's request to keep the?
I can, but somebody at midnight can come in and turn it on, but anyway.
No, do you care if it's open?
No, actually, what.
Amy, can we, this board's the permitting authority for this phase 6, right?
Yeah.
Can we interject ourselves and tell Taunton, you know, or put the burden on them to any degree to say we want that connection from there and we want it open?
Where is the connection on property owned by who?
It actually, it's on Fern Ave.
It's coming up Fern
Fern Ave ties to LeBaron Boulevard, and it ties Precinct Street to LeBaron Boulevard. So the water connection is gonna be there, but Taunton wanted a gate to keep it closed, because.
Taunton wants to keep it closed because they don't want to have to put the meters in?
That's correct.
Yeah.
They want the higher bill.
They want the higher
Well,
bill.
the meters that we have are compatible with the Taunton meters. What David alluded to, there's a reader so that Taunton can read it electronically, which I believe we accepted we signed an agreement with the community that we will help them financially to get those up to date in case Taunton. We're supporting the community with this. We want the community to have individual meters and to be read. And I believe the concessions that we did to Taunton Water and to the community exceed $200,000 of fees and changes to the system that we're willing to bear to try to help the community. So we've been trying to be very helpful. Taunton doesn't want to do it. They're saying the subdivision was approved in a single master meter. That's all they want to do. That's it. They don't want to hear from anybody, and that's what it is. Hopefully, Matt will be able to convince them otherwise. But you know, if they can keep insisting on it, I don't think we can do anything. We can't force Taunton to do anything. Again, we're happy to help the community and try to make sure it happens, but it's not our decision. I don't think there's much we can do.
We can put in our decision what our preference is. We can put a finding.
Okay.
If we make a condition that it has to remain ungated, and Taunton says it has to be gated, they have to come back for a modification. So it would put the burden further on the developer.
No, she's saying if we condition it to say, listen, you need to make sure that it's not gated, and Taunton says we're not doing it.
Yeah, they won't allow us to, they will not allow us.
Then you have to come back, so we don't want to.
No. I mean, you can send them a letter that you would like them to do that, and then see what they respond.
Oh, we will send them something.
Yeah.
And it won't be a gift.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, I will assure the residents this, we will do what we can. Again, I don't want you guys to use any false hope. I don't think we have much, and he's nodding his head back there because he's, not this issue, but you've been through these issues before. There's only so much we can do, but we will do whatever we can, whether it's sending letters or coordinating with other boards or, you know, working with the developer
And
to.
we'll be very happy to help.
So
I mean,
we
in
will.
any way we can, we will be happy to help. Again, this is a situation that preceded us by 10 years. And there were 100 units already built before we came in, and they were all on a single meter and everything, so.
Right, no, I get it, but I appreciate the residences and how they feel at this point,
Well,
so
I
we'll
agree.
all do what we can. We will, although it's not in our purview, like most of the stuff that's not in our purview, we put it off to the side. We will not put this off to the side, we will see what we can do to help the cause, so.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Steve James.
I live at 70 LeBaron, Unit 12 in the project. The thing that I haven't heard brought up here, and I don't know what the DEP's position will be, but this water system, as it's currently designed, is a closed system. The water comes in, doesn't circulate around, it just goes in, goes down, is a dead end. That's not how you design water systems. Whether the DEP will even allow that to continue, I don't know, but they shouldn't. It should have that opened gate at the precinct end. And as soon as you do that, then the meter at the upper end is meaningless because you've got water coming in and out of both ends and both sides of the system, which would force doing the meters, using the meters that already are there in the area. But I don't know, Kelly brought this up. The concern is the safety of the water. Is it, you know, when you have a dead end system, you can get bacteria buildup. And that's the system we have.
Heard and understood, again,
Okay.
there's not much we can do
No, I
about it,
understand,
but we
but-
will bring all your concerns to whatever parties you think they should be
Yeah,
talked to.
I was just hoping that this gentleman, when he's talking to the DEP, can say, hey, is this really how you want this designed?
He's here, he can hear what you're saying, so.
Yeah.
All right, we're done with water for the time being, because we really can't do anything about it tonight, and it doesn't factor into this process, so. Any additional questions, follow-up for? So we do have a few outstanding items. I had referenced that, you know, some of them have been taken care of, and some of them are on the way, so to speak. I do want to ask, it was brought up, and we'll say it's a fair point. So in regards to the letter from the fire chief, did you guys get a copy of that? Have you seen it?
Is that a new letter? We got one at the very beginning of the project, but I haven't
May
seen it.
6th.
Of this year? I have not seen that.
No, I was going to read, I'm going to read it for the record, but Noel just gave it to you, so. This document has been submitted as comment on the modified basic site plan of LeBaron Hills Development stamped by engineers 4/21/25. The updated layout of buildings fails to provide fire department connection locations for the sprinkler systems. These connection locations have invitations on parking plans, landscaping plans, hydrant location approval, and fire apparatus access. The department asks the board to compel the applicant to provide the requested information. Additionally, the applicant should be aware that no occupancy permit shall be approved by this department should there be conditions not in compliance with the relevant fire codes, to include these mentioned in this memorandum.
Yeah, so we have 2 hydrants proposed, one next to each building. And then the fire department connections would come from the architectural plans, the actual connections on the building, on where those would be exactly.
So.
And it gets designed and approved by the fire department.
Right.
So the sprinkler system, and if they want us to move the fire hydrants around, or add another fire hydrant, again, we just never, we haven't seen this letter.
No, again, that's why I wasn't sure if you'd seen it or not, but it's only dated.
Yeah, the
week and a half
buildings
ago,
will be
so.
sprinkled, and the buildings themselves will have hydrant connections that tie into the fire department.
Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot. You knew that was coming, right? So, can you comment to any degree on any of the information that the fire chief has sent over to us, or, sorry?
Unfortunately, no. That level of detail seems like it's typically something that would be during the building permit. He said that that's something, architectural plumbing plans, like where's the water coming in, where's the water going out? I mean, they're not at that level yet, unfortunately. So if that's something he's looking for, I don't know how they provide that. It's kind of, not to put the fire, it seems like that's asking for something that I don't know that they have at this point.
Something that'll come out in the future.
Something will come out in the future. It sounds like the fire chief's trying to get ahead of it, but I don't know that's something necessarily they can provide, that's like the internal plumbing of the building, which I don't think they have at this point.
What about hydrant location approval?
Well, hydrants, the hydrants they're showing. So I mean, if the fire chief has an issue with where the fire, he should say, where does he want them? I guess instead, I think as Devin's indicated, if they want them moved, if they want them relocated, if they want additional, that's probably as well to, I guess when I heard this, that he was looking for the actual fire connections to the building. That's like the internal plumbing of the building.
Yeah, I'm reading this, the hydrant okay, so he does have hydrant location on here.
And fire apparatus access, which is
what the swept path kind of issue we noted.
Yeah, he already noted that.
And that was correct.
Right.
So perhaps the applicant can reach out to the fire chief about the hydrant location.
Yeah, my suggestion is we will coordinate between fire chief and ask him exactly what he's looking for at this stage, because obviously you can't, we can't really comment on items that are in the future, as we just said, which that's fair, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think we have like 3 or 4 small items like that remaining, that perhaps we can get them all resolved and on the plans and approved and.
well, here's what my suggestion was going to be. I think hopefully you can clean this up for next meeting. Again, although it's not in our purview, we can have a little more information on the water, knowing that you're not going to build anything until that gets completely resolved anyway. And then we may be at the point where, we can move forward and get Amy's okay on.
So my only question was, there was an updated waiver list that was dated, I think, 4/26. Is that the most recent? Does that take into consideration the waivers that Matt had noted in his peer review letter?
Yes.
Okay, so the waiver list that we have is complete, ready to go?
That 426 waiver list takes into consideration anything that Matt put in his May 7th response to us.
Okay.
Okay. So you can start taking a look at that stuff.
Definitely. Yep.
Great. Anyone else have any other questions? Anyone in the audience, don't take this the wrong way, folks, other than water, have any other comments? Okay, so anything else additionally to add? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to coordinate clarifying the few outstanding items, connect with the fire chief to make sure we keep him happy, and we will continue till June. Is that what you want?
And we'll start working on the decision.
I'm at the planning board on June 12th.
Who would you rather be at?
Well, they asked me first.
Listen, I'm only joking.
They asked me first, so I already committed. I made a commitment.
Do you care if it's July, or do you want to come back in June?
No, I think we're okay in July.
Yeah.
We're okay in July.
We're already trying to.
You gotta wait a long time to
got a year
anyways on the other stuff, so, okay.
Okay for July.
You good for July?
That's fine.
Amy, I'm checking with Amy first, because I reschedule it to July and then she's not
Sure,
here now.
all my Thursdays in July are free.
All
Not
right.
anymore.
What Thursday is it?
17th.
Okay. Based on that, I will entertain a motion to continue this until July 17th.
I'll make that motion to continue July 17th.
We have a second? Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. So just for an update, to remind everybody, our next meeting is Thursday, June 12th. That is here. And then we also have a meeting on June 16th regarding specifically the Simmons Hill project. That's at Loon Pond Lodge. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
I'll entertain one.
Make that motion.
I'll take a second now. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.